Hello guys, welcome back to our channel. I'm in our little book corner. Behind this pile of books is my bookshelf, but I thought I'd come on here to film my 2025 reading wrapped. And I'm so excited. So we're just gonna get started because this is a massive pile of books. And just having this visual representation of how many books I've read this year and knowing this isn't even all the books is wild. I've always been like a 10 to 12 books a year kind of girly, but this year we've knocked it out of the park and I've read 22 books. So I have my Goodreads open and we're gonna go in order and we're just gonna get straight into it. So I'm gonna tell you the book I read, my thoughts, feelings, emotions, and why I rated it. First book I read this year, this was for book club, is Fourth Wing. So this was a reread. I actually read Fourth Wing for the first time last year. So reading it a second time was amazing to get to chat with my friends. Love the characters, love the setting. It's awesome for some romanticy, twists and turns. I rated it, I believe, 5 stars. Let me just double check. Yeah, I rated it 5 stars. And then after I finished Fourth Wing, I of course read Iron Flame. Iron Flame I think is my favorite book in the series. I also rated it 5 stars. This one, people say it's like slow to start, but I feel like because Fourth Wing really picks up the pace, it like can be a bit political, but I love the twists and turns in this and it's very eventful, this book. Then of course I read Onyx Storm. Onyx Storm was a lot slower pace for me compared to Iron Flame and Fourth Wing. I think at the time I still rated it 5 stars, but I think I'd give it 4 stars. I also thought this series was a trilogy, so I was really happy to be like, okay, I'm gonna finish the series with the trilogy, but as soon as I bought this book, I found out it's not a trilogy and there's 2 more books in the series. Not gonna lie, I kind of wish this was a trilogy. So that's how I feel about those, but absolutely love. Oh, and then I've also read, while we're on the Rebecca Yarros train, Variation. This was another book club book. Look, it was cute. I liked the characters. Not my favorite book. I believe I gave it a 3 stars. So like enjoyed it, had a good time, but there's bits about the plot that were very messy and yeah, just another, I think Rebecca Yarros, Fourth Wing's probably her best book. This is okay. Our next book is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. Now, I rated this 5 stars. This was my choose for book club at the beginning of the year. And I read it in like 2-3 days during the cyclone. It is, I believe, YA. And oh my goodness, it is so cute. Think about like childhood enemies to lovers type vibe. We're following along the characters Win and Liz. And they've been friends since kids. He's always parked in her parking spot to purposely try and annoy her. Then they have some little complicated fake dating type situation, which I absolutely love. Lynn Painter just writes in such a lovely way. The romantic gestures and the childhood friends, enemies to lovers vibe is amazing. Absolutely love this. This is 5 star. Then I read Funny Story by Emily Henry, and Emily Henry books, I've only read Happy Place Book Lovers, so this was my 3rd Emily Henry book, and I absolutely loved it. It's about Miles and Daphne, so it's an interesting situation. Daphne and her fiance, they break up, and then she leaves, Daphne's fiance leaves her, like he goes to the bachelor party and comes back that weekend saying, the wedding's off, I'm in love with my childhood best friend. So Miles is Daphne's ex's, Petra, Miles' ex Petra. Daphne's ex-fiance gets with Petra, that's their childhood friend, and now Miles and Daphne don't have anywhere to live because their partners got together, so they move in as friends. I think it is so amazing. I love the story plot, love the characters, love the banter, gave this a 5 stars. This is now my favorite Emily Henry book. Then, Conditions of Will. Oh, sorry. I'm trying to go in order because I don't have every single book. Before we talk about Conditions of Will, I also read Nothing Like the Movies. I borrowed it from a friend and Katie currently has it, so I'll just put the cover over here. Nothing Like the Movies. I rated it 5 stars. It was the follow-up, the sequel to Better Than the Movies, and not gonna lie, it was painful at the start because Better Than the Movies is just this beautiful love story, and then Nothing Like the Movies skips to when they're in college. So Better Than the Movies follows them in high school. Now they're at college. They have a few problems arise. We get some answers on things that happened, and it's quite emotional and intense. Goes through like grief and loss and a few other things, but really loved it. Lynn Painter, she just writes good characters and absolutely had had a good time. Alrighty, now we have The Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings. If you didn't know, by looking at my bookshelf or the posters behind me, Jessa Hastings has become one of my favorite authors. And just look how I've just tabbed most of this book. And this is her first, like, I think they called it a contemporary fiction. Contemporary literature, contemporary fiction. So it's not like her other books are general fiction with a big bit of romance. I would say this is more general fiction with a subplot of romance, but basically it follows Georgia, who has to go back to, so she was living in London, but she's American and had to go back to her family in America after her father dies. This is no surprise, it's on the back of the book. And basically she struggles with her family, that's why she's moved away. Think about toxic family roles. So she really struggles with dealing with her. So it's her mom, obviously her dad just died, and then she has 2 brothers and a sister. So she's one of 4, and one of her brothers is a recovering addict. So he brings his sponsor named Sam. And basically it goes through all of the issues within their family, trying to grapple with the death, and it has a bit of family mystery. So I just love the way Jessa Hastings writes. This was a page turner for me, just wanting to know what the family mystery was, the dynamics, feeling emotional about their grief, but also what they're going through as characters. I also love Georgia's character. Like, she is super cool. She's like a body language expert. So that's what she's studying. So there's elements of that are really cool. That's part of her personality. But yes, this was 5 stars and my favorite book of the year. Then we have some rereads. Katie chose Happy Place as her book club book, which I love. I read it, I think, back in like 2023. So this was a good reread because I remembered bits and pieces, but I didn't remember the whole thing. But basically we follow Harriet and Wynne. They're a couple. They were their fiancés, and every single year they go on this trip with all their college friends and their partners to this house that's one of the other girls. It's her like family home. So basically I forgot her name. One of their friends, the house is being sold. So they all go back for one little trip and they have to tell their friends that Harriet and Wynne actually broke up. So it's a story of all the friends coming together, like they're in their 30s, they're grappling with like, if this house is sold, what do we have in common? What is holding us together? And they're grappling older relationships, like living distance, like living interstate from each other. And yeah, the reread, I actually listened to the audiobook, which I don't listen to many audiobooks, but I really liked this audiobook. It was really easy to follow. I listened to it in the car, and yeah, I still love Happy Place. I think I do love Funny Story better, but Happy Place is just like a good summer read. Like, they're on holiday, it's going through all these friendship dynamics, and I think even though it's like there's like 6 main characters and it follows Harriet and Wynne, it's just you get to know a little bit about all the different characters and you feel like you actually know them and they're real people. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I gave this a 5 star. No, I gave 4 stars. 4 stars. It was 5 stars Funny Story. This was 4 stars. I think I gave it 5 stars the first time I read it. Okay, next we have 3 books that are also rereads, which is The Summer I Turned Pretty. I have these out of order. So The Summer I Turned Pretty. Then we have It's Not Summer Without You. And then We'll Always Have Summer. So I read these back when season 1 came out, because I know these books existed when I was a kid. And I don't think I read them as a kid, but they were trending. They were cool. I think they came out in like 2009 or 10. Anyway, this is like, I don't know why I have 3 different covers. Don't ask me. I tried to buy the box set, but they wasn't available at the time, so I bought these from Target for like $12 each. And it was great. Basically, yeah, I reread them. I read them first in like when after season 1 the show came out. Then this year season 3 came out, and I was like, you know what? Let's do a reread before season 3 comes out. So the first one is The Summer I Turned Pretty. We follow Belly and Steven and their mom, Laurel. They go every single summer to Laurel's best friend Susanna's beach house. And Susanna has 2 beautiful boys, Jeremiah and Conrad. And the whole basis is, this is the summer that Belly turns 16. She's no longer a child. These boys, they see her a bit differently. And as you know, probably from the show, unless you live under a rock, there's a bit of a love triangle. So this first book is all about that one summer, and they find out things about the families, about what's been going on, behind the scenes and everything. And yeah, it is YA. Super easy read. If you love the show, the books are really cute, really fun to read to get like a bit more of what happens in the show. Like the show shows a lot, but there's a few little flashbacks and things because there's flashbacks to their childhood as well as present day. Absolutely loved it. I think the first time I read it, I don't know how many stars I gave it, but I think right now I gave it 5 stars. I gave it 4 stars. 4 stars. YA, super easy read. Like I think you could read this in like a day if you really wanted to. Then It's Not Summer Without You. So this is the second book. I rated it 4 stars as well. And basically we go through, it picks up from the end of this summer and then we pick up again with this summer. Conrad's gone missing. So it's up to Jeremiah and Belly to try and find him. And then they find out information about their house being sold and they try and save it. So that's the second book. So that's similar to the second season of the show. Then we have the third book, We'll Always Have Summer, which is similar to the third season. So I believe in this one, we get multiple povs between Belly and Jeremiah. And yeah, Belly and Jeremiah with a bit of Conrad, I believe. Like, I like how the books do have each other's povs. They have all the boys, and Belly and Conrad and Jeremiah, they all get a pov at some point. So I believe I also rated this one 4 stars. So it's a 4-star series, YA, keep in mind. But if you love the show and you want more, all the little flashbacks, there's a few points of difference, which I absolutely loved. Then I read, this was a book club book. We read The Glass Girl. So this one's a general fiction. I don't know if it's general fiction or YA. It might actually be YA because it follows a 16-year-old girl, Bella. Bella is a teenage girl going through it. When she hangs out with her friends, they find themselves often, driving around, hanging out in the car parks in front of liquor stores, trying to get alcohol, partying, that sort of thing. And what Bella doesn't realize is her drinking is actually a problem. So it follows Bella finding out she is an alcoholic. And it's really interesting because this book I thought would be like, it's written really well where it's not too confronting, but obviously if you're someone that struggles reading about alcohol and the impacts it has on families and things, probably maybe not read it. Could be a bit triggering, but I found it really interesting, especially because it's in Bella's pop, and so you can hear her thoughts and feelings about alcoholism. Like for her, it's just like drinking because she's like bored kind of thing with her friends, but then it turns into more of a problem. You follow Bella, and her story and how things happen that basically like change her life and how she deals with all of that. I rated this book, I believe, 4 stars. I really liked the characters. I really liked how Kathleen Glasgow wrote in Bella's pov, because obviously you from an outsider looking into her situation would be like, yeah, she has a problem. But her being a child, you get her dialogue, her thoughts, her feelings, which is so different to an adult looking in. So yeah, I rated it 4 stars. Absolutely loved it. If you're into something different, but it still shows like the teenage relationships, family relationships, real problems with real people. Like, it's a really good book. Highly recommend. And a book that I don't have because I lent it to Katie, but I'll put it up here, is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So I am a die-hard Hunger Games fan. I have my original Hunger Games books up there that I bought from bookdepository.com, if you know, you know, when I was like 13, and I read the whole series. I read the first book after the first movie came out, but I read book 2 and book 3 before all the movies came out. So of course I'm a bit late to the bandwagon of reading Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, because when I first came out and I was like, oh, it's about snow, wasn't really interested. I haven't seen the movie, but now that Sunrise on the Reaping has come out this year, everyone talked about it. I was like, okay, I want to jump back into this world, and it did not disappoint. This book was all about snow. I found it really interesting. It was nice being back in the world of Pan Am. It was interesting because this goes back to like Snow when he was in college, and basically it was, I think, the 5th Hunger Games or the 10th Hunger Games. So it's really interesting because technology isn't very well advanced, and you go through Snow's story of being in college during this time and the way that the Hunger Games have been set up and his perspective. Then you go through his story, and towards the end of the novel you find out a bit more about his character and things like that. But it's really weird because we know Snow to be in the original series as a villain, but he's so likable in this book up until the end. But one thing I was just really craving is, after reading this book, I still don't know why he's turned so evil, and we get more of an insight perhaps why he doesn't like Katniss, but there's still a few blanks that I would love to be filled in, but liked being back in the world. I rated it 3 stars. Still enjoyed it. It was a slow read though. Slow read. But I definitely think reading this book makes reading Sunrise on the Reaping 10 times better. Like, you couldn't read Sunrise on the Reaping without reading it. And I do think you need to have read the Hunger Games series first to read it, because it gives you more insight. And it would be, if you read this first instead of the original Hunger Games series, you'd be quite bored. So I feel like if you haven't read Hunger Games, read the original series, then The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And it's like, this book walked so Sunrise on the Reaping could run. That is like, period, my opinion on that. Okay, next is another book club book, which was Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Now, I went into this book knowing that it's like, heaps of people love it. It has so many reviews, so many ratings, so many people that I follow on Book YouTube that rated this 5 stars. So I was going in thinking, oh, this book will blow my socks off. I had no idea what this book is about. Like, the back of the cover literally says, this is the story of Sam and Sadie. It's not a romance, but it is about love. And it says, when Sam catches sight of Sadie at a crowded train station one winter morning, he is catapulted back to the brief time they spent playing together as children. Their unique spark is instantly reignited. So what comes next is a story of friendship and rivalry, fame and creativity, betrayal and tragedy, perfect worlds and imperfect ones, and ultimately our need to connect, to be loved, and to love. Now, that's a beautiful blurb about this book. But one thing I didn't realize is this book is about video games. And which, it's not really a spoiler, but I wish I kind of knew that going in, because I kind of like going into books without reading the back cover. But sometimes I do want to know a little bit about it. But I was really shocked. So I was like, this isn't a book that I would normally pick up and want to read. But I really liked the characters, Sam and Sadie, and I always forget his other name. The other dude's name begins with an M. But yeah, it really focuses on Sam and Sadie, and then forget the other dude's name, their other friend who's Japanese. They're all so Sam's Asian, Sadie is not, and then their friend is. Anyway, so it follows the story about these friends, like childhood friends, and they bump into each other. Sadie is going to university in game design. They, as children, when they met, they played lots of video games together. So this book spans like years and years and years of their life. It has flashbacks, it has current time. It goes through a lot. And yeah, it was like good. The twists and turns were interesting, but it did take me a long time to read. And there's a few things that I was like, oh, there's just like random stuff happening, and then it all ties it up at the end. So I rated it 3.5 stars. I even wrote a review on Goodreads, and I said, honestly, I still don't know how I feel about this book. I love the characters and their journey, but it seemed to drag on a bit, and the friendship between Sam and Sadie was so beautiful, and that's what kept me reading. So their friendship's lovely, but they go through a lot of hard times. It's nearly 500 pages long. I honestly think this could have been done in like 300 to 400 pages. But yeah, this is a book for the characters. It goes through life. It goes through the events of life with all this stuff about video games, which was kind of interesting, but wasn't what I expected at all. And I was kind of surprised everyone was rating it 5 stars. I also think, though, this author, Gabrielle Zevin, I think she writes in a way that some of the stuff was very poetic, that it kind of could have gone over my head. Like, I can see how people think this is like a masterpiece of a book, but it just didn't fully do it for me. Still enjoyable, but was a slog to get through. Okay, and then the next book, which once again I don't have the physical copy of, but I'm gonna put it here, is Sunrise on the Reaping. So I talked about The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and how I said that book had to walk so this book could run. Sunrise on the Reaping follows Haymitch, which if you read the original series, he's the mentor, and he was in the second Quarter Quell. So this follows him and his experience in the game. So we know from the original series, Haymitch is the mentor because he was once in the Hunger Games. So this goes through his games, his experience, and all the political stuff in this book is so interesting, and the links and ties to Snow's book and the original series is chef's kiss. Like, it just blew my little mind. Like, I picked up all these subtle hints here and there, and so like if you hadn't read the original series or you don't know that story well, like, you're not going to pick up on the little subtle nudges, which is what made this book so special. The epilogue on this book had me nearly in tears. Once again, it did go for a long time, and his games was really interesting, but just the ending and the epilogue of how it links to the original series has just given it a whole new meaning. So I rated it 4 stars, but honestly, I do think about it from time to time. Like, I do think about stuff that happened, and I can't wait for the movie to come out. I rated it 4 stars. On Goodreads, it has an overall rating of 4.51, which I rarely ever see a rating that high. Highly, highly recommend. If you are like, I'm 27, so Hunger Games, that was like my teenage obsession, my preteen obsession. I had an Instagram page dedicated to the Hunger Games. It was like completely faceless. It was before we had Reels, and I would literally post posts about all the Hunger Games characters. I would make edits with quotes. I even did on Instagram, I'd post a grid and everyone in the comments would vote like who to eliminate from the Hunger Games, and I would host my own Hunger Games as posts, and I had like 900 followers back in like 2013. Wild times, wild preteen times. I love the Hunger Games. Love this book. Highly recommend. Now, switching gears, this is a book I also don't have, but I'll put the cover here. I listened to the audiobook of Powerful. So last year, I actually read Powerless. It is on my bookshelf at the top with my fantasy stuff. That was actually our very first book club book, and I liked Powerless. It's very similar to Hunger Games vibes. It follows trials, but I love Payton, and I love Kai, and then Kit. Those 3 characters, absolutely loved. The ending of that book just seemed very rushed, but that's Powerless. So then I gave myself the challenge to see how many books I could finish. That was in a YouTube video. You can find it on our channel. And I decided to listen to Powerful audiobook because I want to listen to the rest of the series. I'm not that committed to actually reading it, but I've heard so many people rave about the series. And the first book, at first I was like, yeah, 5 stars for the ending. But when I think about it, I'm like, it was just okay. Like, I'm not that obsessed with it to really think it's 5 stars. So for me, Powerless is like a 3.5 star now. So I wanted to listen to all the rest of the books to see what I'm missing out on. Like, what are all these other people seeing that I'm not seeing? So I listened to Powerful because I really wanted to listen to Reckless and Fearful because that follows the original, but this is just a novella. This follows Adina and Mac, and this is crazy. It's rated 4 stars on Goodreads. Anyway, it's like, so in the first book, Powerless, we already know Adina's fate, so part of me is like, why did we even give her a POV? Whatever. But yeah, it's a quick little novella telling their story leading up until her unexpected fate, which is revealed in Powerless. So I was kind of like, do we need this story? Not really. Is Mac, this other dude, gonna show up any other time? Not really sure. Was it an okay time? Yes, I rated it 3 stars. Would I highly suggest anyone else to read it? Not so much. But if you like the series, if you like the characters, it's cute. Next one by Jessa Hastings, Time of Your Life. Now, Jessa Hastings giving us 2 new releases. So Conditions of Will, I read like the same month it came out. Time of Your Life, I waited like a few weeks after it came out to read. So both new releases. Jessa Hastings is giving us 2 new books this year. Conditions of Will being like one of my absolute faves. Was like, okay, let's read this one. I heard it was about a rock star and a model set in the 90s. How fun. They're from Manchester, so they have a different accent, and there's like different words and stuff they use, like a whole language type glossary at the beginning. So I was really excited to read this book, and I loved being back in Jessa Hastings' world. However, this book, the main character, it follows Joa Harrigan and Isolde Featherington. I'm not even gonna try. I just call her Featherington, but that's not her. That's not her last name. So yeah, it follows them, rock star and a model. They meet, you get to know their story, very much just like a romance book. No, but it made it really hard to read because not much happens. There's not much of a plot. It just follows their relationship. And Joa Harrigan is insufferable. So I rated this 3 stars. To me, not Jessa Hastings' best writing. It was a story she accidentally wrote that she wanted to write. The 90s setting was prevalent with a couple of references, but otherwise you wouldn't have known it was set in the 90s. But it was a fun read. I read it in like a couple of weeks. It still kept me wanting more, which is good. Like, it's just like 2 toxic characters. Well, not really 2 toxic characters. 1 main toxic character. But it did have some twists and turns. But also, this is meant to be a series. So this is the first book in a series. She hasn't written the rest. And I kind of wish the ending of the book went in a slightly different direction, because there was like 1 main problem throughout. And I was like, okay, cool, this is going to be the main problem. Because I was reading the book and going, where the heck is this going? It got to the problem like, oh wow, this is a problem. And then that problem got resolved in like 5 seconds. And then like 3 other problems came up. And I was like, I wish she'd have stuck to the original problem dragged it out a little bit, and then the next book was like the solution. I think that would have been a better book to have a bit more like similar to like Magnolia Parks, like the fate of their relationship is not sealed and then stuff happens and then it carries on the next book. I think if you wanted to make this a series, that would have been way better. Otherwise, entertaining, good. Would I highly recommend? No. I was gonna make it my book club book, and then I read it and then I was like, oh, I don't think my friends would really like it that much. Now, big kahuna. A Court of Silver Flames. I finally picked this up. I was procrastinating it for like a solid year. I think I read the other ACOTAR books. I think I started them in 2023. Yeah, my last year of uni. Then I read the novella last year. And then I decided, yep, now's the time. I want to finish the series, finish what's out currently. So I picked up A Court of Silver Flames. It is a big book. So I did read it on my Kindle. This was the first book I read on my Kindle, which I absolutely love. And yeah, it follows Nesta and Cassian after the war, after Christmas, after winter solstice. And it is very interesting. Nesta gets herself in a bit of trouble and ends up being like banished, cut off from Rysand and Feyre. And she goes through lots of challenges. She has to be training with Cassian, doing all this stuff. Not gonna lie, I didn't realize how spicy this book was gonna be. Obviously, like, no spoilers, but everyone kind of knows in the fandom, like, these books came out ages ago, that like there's gonna be something that happens between Nesta and Cassian after the war. There's hint hint nudge nudges and stuff. And then as far as the political side went, I didn't know where this book would go because ACOTAR War was so like finished, done. Like, the series could have ended there and I would have been happy. But obviously they wanted to give Nesta her perspective of how she was coping post the war. So the political side of it, I wasn't really sure about what they would do with it. I like what they did with it though. Really interesting. There's still a bit of holes though. Like, now we have different people have a secret that wasn't really resolved, but the ending was pretty good. I think I still rated it 5 stars, but I'd probably give it 4 stars. This book made me realize when I was younger, I loved reading spice in a book. But I think because this is fantasy, like, I don't mind a bit of spice if it covers like a few pages. I don't need chapters and chapters and chapters of it, because anytime there was some spicy stuff, I was like, yeah, girl, you get it. Love the romance, love the couple. But I was kind of like, can we get back to the plot? And this book has some plot. It has some plot. Not a huge amount of plot. A good amount of plot. It's a balance. But I did love the new characters we're introduced to in this book that becomes Nesta's friends. And I really like that aspect of it. Not sure where the rest of the series is going to go. Like I said, I think they could have stopped at ACOTAR War, but she continued. But I will read whatever's next. But I probably don't know if I'd reread. You know what I mean? Like, anytime a new book from a fantasy series comes out, it's like, I don't got the time to reread. Like, this took me months. So those are all the physical books I have that I've read. I have 3 more books I read on my Kindle. So I'll put the cover here. The next book is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. This was my choose for book club. And I have never read a cozy, a cozy small town romance. Like, I love romance books. Romance books are my jam. How the heck have I never read a small town romance? Like, Book Lovers is kind of a small town romance, but yeah, absolutely love. So this book follows the characters Alexis and Daniel. I can't remember if it's dual pov though, but Alexis is a doctor. I think it is dual pov. I don't have the physical book to look at it. But Alexis is this beautiful doctor following her family legacy of other doctors. It's giving Grey's Anatomy. Daniel doesn't really have much family. His grandparents raised them. They passed away. He runs a bed and breakfast in a small, cozy country town where everyone knows everyone. Everyone's friends with anyone. Alexis, her car breaks down on the side of the road. And then she needs someone to come and rescue her, to help her get towed, because she is driving 3 hours from a funeral. She calls a tow truck and they don't show up. But guess who knocks on her window? Handsome Daniel. And she goes with him into the small town, and they have a little meet cute. They are like 10 years different in age, and it follows their story. So I just loved this book because, like, the Alexis being a doctor, powerful, strong, independent queen. Then we have this whole side of small town romance. Daniel, bless, green flag of a man, running a bed and breakfast. Like, Abby Jimenez just writes, is the definition of a woman writing, a man written by a woman. which we love. It gives like Stars Hollow kind of vibes. Like there's really wholesome. There's a lot of characters. There's some intricacies. It does go through some abusive relationships, trauma, that sort of stuff, which was really interesting to see how it was written about and following their story. So their romance was quite good, but then it had all this other plot to it, which I love. Because I love romance books, but I hate when the romance book lacks plot. Like, it needs a plot with the romance. So, yeah, I think I rated that 5 stars. That was before I next read Yours Truly, which I'll put here. The cover here, Yours Truly is the next one. It's like, not really a series, but it's in that world. So we follow Brianna, who's Alexis's best friend. Once again, Dr. Grey's Anatomy vibes. And then she meets Jacob, who is a transfer to her hospital working in a similar position. She finds out she's going to get a promotion and he's also going from the same job. So she starts out hating him. Everyone hates him to begin with because it's like, who's this tall, handsome man coming in to try and run our ER department? So I rated Yours Truly 5 stars. I rated Part of Your World 5 stars, but after reading Yours Truly, I would say Part of Your World is a 4-star for me and Yours Truly is a 5-star for me. So Part of Your World, 4 stars. We love it. Cozy small town romance. This one, 2 doctors, even more Grey's Anatomy. Jacob is the definition of a man written by a woman, but is perfect in so many ways. We hear about his struggles, and we also hear about Brianna's struggles. Once again, romance with a lot of plot to it. There's also a fake dating trope. There's an only one bed trope. This book has everything. By the end of the book, I was in tears. Like, the idea of these are 2 real people going through it, fake dating, they find out lots about themselves and each other. It just felt like real people with real emotions, and I felt like I was there for the ride with them. So this is up there with Conditions of Will as my favorite book. This had me like kicking and giggling and crying. I never cry when reading books, but I did. I cried. So beautiful. Highly recommend Conditions of Will and Yours Truly. 2 favorite books I've read this year. And then last but not least is Holiday Romance. This was Katie's pick, so I'll put the cover here. And I went to book club and I was the only one that had actually finished it. Katie's still reading it, our friend Chloe's still reading it, and Kyla is still reading it. But I rated it 3.5 stars. So we follow a girl named Molly, and every single year she lives in Chicago and she goes back to Ireland to visit her family. Every single Christmas she leaves on the same date and she bumps into Andrew. Andrew and Molly know each other through a mutual friend that Andrew was dating at the time and broke up with. And every single year they catch the same flight. And they form this friendship that they mainly see each other for this flight every single year, but they see each other drips and drabs. They kind of catch up with each other a bit during the year in Chicago, but they mainly bond over catching this flight every single December to get home to Ireland for Christmas. Really cool plot, really cool idea how you get flashbacks of their previous flights. You follow their friendship. It is a really cute friends to lovers trope. Absolutely loved it. Not much really happens though. Like, most of the book is them catching the flights and then they have Christmas. So if you don't like a book that doesn't span a long period of time, but I will say a lot of stuff happens. I did read it really slowly because when I read it, I didn't have all the time in the world, but it was highly enjoyable. I liked the characters. I like there was some romance, like there was a lot of quotes I highlighted that I'm obsessed with. It did have that giggling, kicking my feet type feeling, which I absolutely love for a book. So yeah, I gave it 3.5 stars. Highly recommend if you want a holiday romance read, hence the name Holiday Romance. And that is my 2025 reading wrapped. So this year, my goal this year was to read 20 books, and I read 22. So like, tick, goal done. So goals for next year. I haven't really thought about this. I like the idea of upping the goal to maybe 25. So 22 is on average like a book every 2 weeks, almost 2 books a month. So next year, I'm having my surgery next year, so I'm planning to read a whole book in that recovery period and reading lots. So yeah, let's raise the bar and set a reading goal of 25 books. I also am thinking, I did a scrapbook journal this year, and which I absolutely love doing, and I did keep like a bit of like reading book reviews and stuff, but I think I want to do like a full reading journal and then do a scrapbook separately for 2026. So I'll keep you updated with all of that. And yeah, if you enjoyed hearing about all the books I read this year, like and subscribe. I want to bring more book content. Comment down below if you love the book content. Also, comment down below What was your favorite book you read this year? I want to know, and if you have any recommendations for me to read in 2026. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope to talk to you soon. And stay tuned because tomorrow we leave for America, so we're going to have some travel vlogs coming to you soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in our next video. Bye!